Anywhere you go, you belong. Anywhere you say, anywhere.
Okay, what are you saying, people, and welcome back to another live stream. Now, before we get into this today, make sure you join me on my Telegram channel. There's a link to that in the live chat and also the description below. Posting a lot of different trading setups there throughout the week, and I hope you don't miss out on that, so make sure you go check that out. And like I said, got another live stream for us. I'm talk you through what's happening in the charts today and see if we've got any opportunities coming our way. So first, I want to start with AUD/USD. So you can see with this one, like I said yesterday, we're coming up to that key level 0.78, and you can see we had a really nice rejection from that level, tapped into it once there, and then we got rejected, pushed to the downside, and we saw some nice bearish momentum coming from that area. So as you can see, AUD/USD had a big push to the upside, big push, and then tapped into that 0.78, a little bit overextended from last week, so we could expect to see some retracement this week. And as you can see, we did get that retracement throughout yesterday and coming over this morning as well. So price is still looking very, very bearish right now. So I do expect to see maybe another push to the downside, maybe tap back into this level here, which is around 0.76500. But nonetheless, it's coming back into the same support here. So I might see a bit of a reaction there to the upside. But overall, if you look on the daily chart, we've seen quite a bearish reaction there, as you can see with those wicks there. So again, we could see that another push coming to the downside, follow through from yesterday. But it does still need to break through that support. And if it does, we have a good chance of pushing back down to 0.76500 down there. Yes, I am live now from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. today, and Tuesday and Wednesday every single week. So from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Yes, I am live. So yeah, like I was saying, for AUD/NZD, coming back to that same support, if we do hold, could see that continuation back to the upside and another push. However, if we break through that level, good chance of pushing back down to 0.76500, which is this key level there on the daily chart. Moving on to EUR/USD, so as you can see for USD, we're starting to look quite bearish now, and like I said, we're probably expecting to see some more retracement for this pair after had those big push to the upside that we've had those past couple weeks now. As you can see on the daily chart, we pushed back into this level, slight breakthrough, but then we did push back up, held it as support, then we had this big movement to the upside, actually breaking through our previous swing high there in the market, giving us a new high. So looking at it on the weekly daily chart, we're actually starting to look very, very bullish now. I do think we could be in for a reversal of this bearish trend that we've seen here in the market, and we could actually see price go a lot further to the upside. So now for USD, I'm expecting to see a little bit more retrace. Again, we've got this key area here that we did not retest when we broke through it. As you can see, I had a bit of consolidation here, broke through that level, no retest. And if I just take you across here as well, you can see we had that double top, so 1, 2, and then we fell to the downside. So you can see it has a lot of weight behind it. Back at that same level again recently. However, we didn't really see a bearish reaction too much from that level. Broke through it, no retest. So I think we could be coming back for a retest of that level, which is around 1.19815. So around that area, retest it. If it does hold as support, could see another push to the upside for EUR/USD. If you get back underneath it, might see a bit of a deeper retracement for EUR/USD, or for this big bearish push we've seen to the upside. Might see a little bit of a deeper retracement if we do break back below, but nonetheless, EUR/USD is looking quite bearish still. So I'm expecting to see that price action roll over to that level, and then see how it reacts, whether it holds or if it breaks through. And then we can make a judgment off that. But if it does hold, I think we could see another push to the upside back up to 1.21. And if I zoom out, you can see 1.21 lines up with this level here in the market. Really nice push to the upside, resistance. And we had this big dump from that same level. So I think we're going to come back and retest that. As you can see, we didn't quite retest it there, not too far away. Probably like 30 or 40 pips away. So I still think there's room to the upside for EUR/USD. So I'm going to see a little bit more retracement if it does hold that level. I do expect to see a push to the upside to around 1.21 there for EUR/USD. GBP/USD, we saw a bit of a bearish reaction yesterday, and as you can see, I did say yesterday that after this big push that we had to the upside for GBP/USD, coming back into that strong level 1.4, I was expecting to see a bearish reaction coming from yesterday from that same level. As you can see, 1.4 was holding as really nice resistance all across here. Then moving across, you can see we tap back into it again for a 6th time, and as you can see, you had another bearish reaction from that same level as price is still struggling to break through that 1.4 level. So I did say there's 2 targets potentially that GBP/USD will fall to, either to this one here, which is our previous resistance, now turn support, and if you break through that, it will probably be this level here, which is around 1.38 which is a key area of support and resistance down the daily. So let's just jump to the daily quickly. You can see support, 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 resistance, false breakout there, and it will be acting as their support there as well. So gave out 2 targets where price will probably go to for GBP/USD. It's right at the first one now. It's not saying that it won't go to the second, because it could still break through that level, but if it does hold this, I probably expect to see another swing back up to 1.4, retest that area, and eventually if it does break through, I do think GBP/USD has a good possibility of swinging back to the highs, back up to 1.42, and just see an overall continuation of this overall bullish trend that we've seen in the past few months for GBP/USD. Because again, the monthly, the weekly are still quite bullish, and still looks like we're just having a pullback for a continuation to the upside. But a key level of 1.4 needs to break for us to really get going for GBP/USD to the upside. But for now, we're coming back into this level, and if you do see a little bit more of a bullish reaction, can expect price to push back into 1.4. However, if it does collapse, then the next level I expect price to probably come and test is around 1.38400. USD CAD, yesterday we got a break of that trend line. I said if you do get a break of that trend line, there's a good chance we'll probably have a nice push to the upside back into that same level, 1.26200. And as you can see, we did break through that trend line, and price kind of just had a big push to the upside. Obviously was helped from the CAD weakness, but overall price was looking very, very bullish for USD CAD. However, now it's come back to that same level, seeing a bit of a bearish reaction. So again, we'll probably expect to see a bit of retracement, at least for USD CAD. I'm not sure if we'll get a swing all the way back down. We very well could, because again, it does look like we've got a bit of a range between that resistance up there and that support. So maybe we could see another swing back to the downside and just continue that range. That is a possibility. But looking at this from the daily, it looks like price has really struggled to break through that support there in the market. And you can see if we take that support across, it also lines up with this area here in the market, which we did have a nice push into. The market held and had a really nice bullish reaction from that same area. So potentially, if this same area does hold, we could actually potentially see a break of that resistance, 1.26200, which is this level, and see potentially another push up. So that is what I'm aware of for USD CAD. So I'm not too sure whether this is going to hold or not. But nonetheless, I am expecting to see a bit of retracement for USD CAD. It could potentially come back into this area around here, where we've got this roughness, this lot of support and resistance level. So it might pull back to around there, because again, the market was quite extended yesterday. So I'm expecting to see a bit of retrace. But I'm not too sure if it will go back all the way down to this area here, looking at what we're seeing on the daily chart. But right now, there's a strong area of resistance that price is rejecting, and I'm expecting to see a reaction to the downside for USD CAD from that area. But again, not too sure if it will go all the way back down to this area here in the market, that support. But if it does and it breaks through, we have a good chance of just seeing an overall continuation of the bearish trend, and price will probably come back to the lows and probably even give us a lower low after that. But right now, we're back at that resistance, expecting a bit of a bearish reaction. But again, not too sure how far it will go, because of the daily chart is starting to look a little bit bullish. Since we're really failing to take out that support there, and might see a breakout that 1.26200 level. USDJPY for this one, we collapsed past that support that I was talking about yesterday. Again, really strong area of support, which we did fly to the upside from not too long ago, and then we broke through that level very impulsively with this strong bearish candle. Again, that could have easily be a false breakout if we saw the next few candles take us right back above. However, we came to retest it yesterday, and I was saying if we do hold this area, we could see a nice continuation to the downside. However, if we do get back above, it'll be a bit of a false breakout. We might see price have a bit of a storm to the upside. However, as you can see, price did not manage to break back above that level, got rejected, and saw a nice collapse to the downside. So right now, USDJPY is struggling to break through this kind of minor support there. On the 4-hourly time frame, if I zoom in, as you can see, price is struggling to break through this area, but overall it's still rejecting that support there, time resistance. So again, like I said in the daily, if we do manage to stay below this area here, I think we could potentially see a nice drop to around this area here, which is around 106.650. Again, really strong area of support, as you can see. Price had a slight retracement with that bearish candle there on the daily, and after that we took off to the upside with very strong bullish candles there. So I think we could come back and retest that area as long as we stay below this area here on the daily. Gets back above it, will be acting as support, and we could actually see another push to the upside and maybe a continuation of the bullish trend. So that is a key level to look out for. But if you do manage to remain below it, then I think USDJPY is on its way back down to around 106.650. And similar for USDCHF, we did break through a key level there on the daily. So you see the price action is not too is quite similar, because again we had that key support breakthrough, although USDCHF already broke through that support and held as a resistance a few days ago. But again, the USDJPY is looking very similar, and again it does look like the momentum is continuing to the downside. So I do expect price to come back to this level here, which is around 0.90430. And even just zooming out, you can see we have this big collapse to the downside. Price was consolidating and ranging for multiple days there, holding that support. Finally broke through it, retested as resistance, then broke through again. So I think because price didn't really come back and really test that level, I think we're going to come back and retest that level again. Might see a bit of another bullish reaction, get back below it. Probably see some new lows there for USDCHF. But right now, I think that bearish momentum is going to going to continue us to the downside and come and test around 0.90434 USD down the daily. For hourly though, looking like I'm getting a bit of retrace, so I might even retest that area, which again could be a nice area to look for shorts because of previous support, now term resistance. But although I still think USDCHF is still on its way down, as long as we stay below that key level there, which is around 0.92230. And another USD pair is the USD as well. We've had another big push to the upside recently for this pair, again with that US dollar weakness helping this pair move to the upside. Right now we're testing key level of support, was resistance, but as you can see, it did not maintain. We had a bit of a bearish reaction there, gap down, and then we actually took it out, took out that same area of resistance, and now used it as support. So price kind of just trading along the area. I did say that potentially price could come up and test this level just above it. So on the daily chart, you can see we had this resistance here, which was like our previous swing high before the market did collapse to the downside. As you can see, a bit of retracement here and that big push. So I think price might want to come back and retest that same area. And as you can see, it did get quite close to that area before pushing to the downside there. So I think if we do hold this area where NZD is trading at the moment, I'll probably favor another push to the upside to go and test that area for NZD. Get back below it, then we actually might see another bearish rally to the downside, because I feel like this is a very key level. As you can see, when we held it, a lot of bearish momentum came to the downside from the same area, so we could potentially see a similar reaction to the downside as well if this is still retracement and that's still the impulsive move. So I need to be aware of that as well. But again, it would be nice if price was to have that one more push to the upside to go and test this key area there on the hourly chart, and then there could be a really nice place to look for shorts, anticipating a bigger move to the downside, and we could be seeing some impulsive candles similar to what we saw here going down as well. So that is a nice area to look out for if price was to get there. But again, if you were to get back below, we might see a little bit earlier and then see the bigger move to the downside back into around this level here, or potentially even further if price wants to go make some new lows there in the market. And next, we're going to take a look at Euro JPY. So Euro JPY moves similar to Euro USD. However, as you can see, for the meantime, this pair has been consolidating quite a lot, whereas USD has been trending to the upside quite well. You can see we're back into the same area of support here in the market. And we did have a false breakout here for Euro JPY. Yesterday, I was saying that if we managed to stay above this area, we could actually see a breakout for Euro JPY and price go a lot further to the upside. However, as you can see, the next candle came straight back down and closed straight back underneath that same resistance level. So price essentially just had another false breakout, similar to what it had over here, closed below, but the next candle closed straight back above. So a false move there, and after that, you do expect to see the market fill in that range, which was from this resistance back down to that support, and we did get the second candle just taking us all the way back down into that same area. So right now, we're back at that same support. It doesn't look like we're breaking through it just yet. As you can see, all those wick rejections there in that area. So might see another push back up, maybe filling that range again back into that resistance. But right now, price is looking like it's just holding that support, and we can expect to see further consolidation for Euro JPY until we actually finally break out of this area. And if we do break up this area, I think we've got a good possibility of seeing a nice move back into around 128.460, which is this support here. And if I zoom out, it looks like potentially price could be having a double top for Euro JPY. If I just take this resistance across, you can see nice resistance one, first test, push to the downside, creating that support there, another push back up, holding that same resistance, false breakout there, giving us that double top, and then potentially another move back into that same neckline, which was this previous support there. So if that does line up, we do expect to see price moving back into that same support. But of course, we do need to see a breakout to the downside for that to happen, breaking through that support. And if it does, look for the retest to capitalize on that opportunity and look to target that support all the way down here. Or again, if you look to trade the smaller time frames, just look for the pullbacks on the lower time frames. But overall, could see a nice drop for Euro JPY to the downside. Yeah, I'll take a look at GBP JPY and gold. Okay, so for GBP JPY, yesterday we were looking very, very bullish. whilst I was doing the live stream after this big push. And then after I finished, we saw this big dump back to the downside for GBJPY getting back below this key level here in the market, because I said if we were to hold it, then we could see some nice continuation. However, we're back underneath it and holding it as resistance. As you can see, we did see that wick there on the 4-hourly candle, wicked into it, pull back down. So right now we're kind of back inside a little bit of a range for GBJPY. So price action is not the clearest for this pair. If you were holding this as support, it would be quite clear, because we can probably expect to see a continuation to the upside in this new uptrend. However, we're back down in this range and price is a little bit unclear. There's a possibility we might see another push to the downside to fill that range in again. And at that point, we're probably looking very, very bearish, potentially forming a lower high. And if that's the case, you probably expect price to eventually come back into these lows here. But right now, we're kind of retesting that as resistance. And if we do resume to the downside, I do expect to see price fill in that range, get back above that level. I do expect to see another continuation, and this area here could just be a higher low. So the push, higher low, and the push could be a higher high after that, and then we probably could be seeing price come back to those highs right now. But right now for GJ, I'm probably favoring a move to the downside rather than the back up, just because we're back below that key level, back into this kind of range, this consolidation price action, and probably see a push to the downside back into this level here, which is around 149,700. So that's why I'm favoring price to go, as long as we stay underneath that level there, which is around 150.89. So biases to the downside for GJ as long as we stay below that level, back to that support just to fill in the range. And gold back at that same resistance again. Like I said from yesterday, I was still favoring a move to the downside for gold, coming back into this key level there on the daily. So we just drop to the daily quickly, and I take this across. You can see really nice area of support here in the market, big push, another not as big but another push to the upside. Now we're testing that as resistance, so we're still at that level. We haven't broken through it, and I do expect to see a bearish reaction to the downside for gold and a bit more of a retracement for this pair. As you can see, we had this big push to the upside recently and not really much retracement. Now coming to this daily resistance, where I do expect to see a bit more retracement to the downside for gold. And as you can see, we're having another bearish reaction at that level. Looking at that hourly time frame, we've tapped it once, nice bearish reaction, tapped it again, and now we're having a very strong bearish reaction again. So my bias is to the downside for gold at the moment in time. Of course, if you were to look bullish and start breaking through that level, I might change my bias, but right now, as long as we hang on to that level there that we're testing there for gold, bias to the downside. And first target has to be this area of support, because that's what rejected us previously when we did see that bearish momentum from that same level. So expecting gold to reach this level down here on the hourly. So that support there, that's what I'm expecting for gold to get to, break through that level, and then we'll probably expect to see a nice push back down to this level here, which is around 1750, key area of previous resistance, which, as you can see, if I zoom in, we did not get a retest of, so kind of giving us that fresh support. That price could come back down and retest, so that's what I'm favoring for gold. So a push back down to that level, and if we break through it, then a push back down to that level, and at that point we'll have a nice little double top, where we could probably expect to see price maybe push a little bit further after that. But again, we'll probably cross that bridge when we get to it. But right now, I'm favoring a move to the downside for gold and a move to the downside for GBJPY as well, because we're back underneath that resistance and looks like we're just holding that range there in that market. Hey Mesala, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. If you're in any trades, just let me know. We'll take a look at them, see how they're going. And if you're looking at any pairs as well, I will take a look at them and give you some analysis on those pairs if you want as well. So just drop a comment down below and I will give you some analysis on those pairs. But yeah, like yesterday, I'm still in my Euro GBP short trade from yesterday. I did take profit. Well, most of my profit when we broke through this level there, and seeing if we could see a move back down to that support, pushing the trade a little bit there. But if we can do that, would be great. Again, if price was to get back above this level, I would just exit the trade completely because at that point price might want to push back into that same level where I did sell from. But right now for EUR/GBP, we does look like we're holding that resistance quite well. So a nice rejection there to the upside. Looks like we're seeing a little bit more retrace, maybe a retest of that level. But overall, if price does remain below that, I will remain in this trade looking for a move to the downside. For EUR/GBP, since again we were at that weekly area there in the market, which is kind of the main reason why I did look to sell from there. As you can see, previous support, nice push to the upside, just time resistance. A bit of a bearish reaction there on that candle on the weekly. So I was looking to take advantage of that, move to the downside this week. And as you can see, we did see a nice push to the downside, and price is continuing. Had that pullback yesterday back into that same area. So as long as it does continue to hold, expecting to see another push to the downside for EUR/GBP, and potentially back into the same area there on the daily. Because if you do look at this on the daily, we've got this big candle taking out that support, didn't retest it at all. So expecting to see a nice retest of that level, and then at that point I'll probably exit my trade completely for EUR/GBP. But again, we're going to see how it develops on, and if we can get a move back into that same level. Good morning everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Again, if you're looking at any different charts, any different pairs, just let me know and I will take a look at them, give you some analysis, and just tell you what I think about those pairs. Okay, so moving on to GPNZD. So GPNZD, we're kind of still respecting this kind of key trend line here in the market. I think this is our fourth test of this trend line. So first, second, third, fourth test of this trend line. We've also we've got previous support, time resistance, bit of a bearish reaction. So it looks like GPNZD might see a reaction to the downside for this pair, if we do manage to hold this trend line and that resistance. Like I did say yesterday for this pair, as long as we hold this resistance and that trend line, my bias is to the downside for GPNZD. If you were to get back above this level, so break through the trend line and break back above this resistance, then I'll probably change my mind at that point. But right now we're kind of trading below it. A lot of dojis, a lot of wicks, so a lot of indecision. But if you do maintain it, I do see a nice push to the downside for GPNZD, and potentially price could go a lot further than that. Looking at GBP CHF, for this pair, we've had a big dump to the downside for GBP CHF recently. As you can see, price was at these new highs here on the Farley chart, and then just took a nice dive to the downside. Right now price is testing a key level here for GBP CHF. As you can see, we just take this across here, and you can see previous support all across here, now time resistance. I think if GBP CHF does hold this level, we could actually see a nice push to the downside for this pair, and just see a continuation, because it looks like we're broken through structure there as well. So this potentially could be our next lower high there in the market. At that point, I do expect to see a GBP CHF back at the lows if we do maintain holding that as resistance. So potentially looks like we could be seeing some GBP weakness in the charts today. Again, if GBJPY holds that level there, like I was speaking about earlier, I do expect to see a push to the downside for GBJPY back into this support here, and just fill in that range between that resistance and that support, where price was moving very, very choppy last week. So I do expect to see that range filled as long as we hold on to that resistance, which does look like we're doing. Looking at the hourly charts, as you can see, a nice bearish candle there, pushing in 30-minute there as well. So biases to the downside for GBJPY. We could be seeing some GBP weakness coming to the markets today, looking at the different charts here, which is not so good for my EUR/GBP trade. But again, just going to see how that works out. Again, still holding onto that same level, so nothing to worry about, and expecting to see a move to the downside for that pair. AUD/JPY yesterday, we were looking quite bullish actually for this pair. And I was saying if we have a breakout of this resistance, I do expect price to come back to highs, which is around 85,440. However, as you can see, that did not happen at all. The next candle did close straight back below. I did say yesterday, if the next candle goes straight below, it's probably a false breakout, and at that point you probably expect to see a push to the downside. And as you can see, we did get a very big push to the downside after that false breakout there. We did close below, next candle close back. We did close above, next candle closes right back below, and then we saw some big push to the downside. So ADJPY right now is back at a key level of support. As you can see, we're already getting a bit of a bullish reaction at that same level. I believe we do have a little bit of a trend line if I zoom out. So first test back here actually, second test here. So it might be on our way to go and get a third test of that trend line. But again, not too sure for ADJPY because price action is a little bit funny right now. It looks like one time it was going to break, create some new highs. However, we got this strong bearish reaction taking us all the way back down very impulsively. So I do feel like ADJPY is on its way to go and test that trend line there for a fourth time. If I just draw that back in. So I do like feel ADJPY is on its way to go and test this trend line again for a fourth time. Again, it's not too far away from that trend line right now. And if you do get a breakout, probably expect to see a bigger push to the downside and maybe a reversal for this pair because it has been in a very strong uptrend for quite some time. So it is probably time for that reversal to come sooner or later for ADJPY, and it looks like it could be coming soon, sooner rather than later because of this price action here failing to create that new high. Looks like we just got one big double top there. So after that, I do expect to see a push to the downside back into that trend line. And if you do break through it, we'll probably have our reversal at that point. GPJPY. Okay, so yesterday, at what price did you buy GPJPY at? Was it a fib of this? Because the price action for GPJPY yesterday, I too was actually favoring a continuation to the upside for this pair if it was to hang on onto this level here in the market, because that was kind of like my key level. As you can see, if I take you across here, you can see a really nice bullish reaction, broke underneath, nice bearish reaction to the downside, back above, held it as support, nice continuation to the upside. So that was the key level that I was determining whether I was gonna expect to see GPJPY continue to the upside or continue back down. And as you can see, we did get a very, very bearish candle closing back below that same area. So at that point, I wasn't too sure if GPJPY was going to continue up or down because that bearish candle was very impulsive and a bit more of a statement saying that move to the upside was a bit of a false move and that we're actually going to move to the downside. So that's what I was thinking after that bearish candle closed. And then I was expecting to see the market come and retest this area, and that kind of confirmed to me that price wasn't really going to push up anymore, and then we're going to see the continuation to the downside. So looking at that area, price did not really take off when it came back to retest. So 150, so around there. So I assume you probably bought it on the lower time frame. So yeah, I wouldn't have bought it there simply because I have a key level just above it, so it would be acting as resistance. But then again, how you trade the market. But for me, I had a key level just above that area, so I was never gonna look to buy at that price. But if price was to bounce above it, so if this bearish candle didn't happen and we were to reject that same area as support, then I'll be looking to buy, because again, we're at that support, expecting to see that push. However, we had that very strong bearish candle there yesterday, so that was telling me that potentially that move to the upside was a bit of a false move, and then we're actually going to see the move to the downside for GPJPY. And then that retest was the confirmation for me, which just happened right now. So as you can see for GPJPY, the continuation to the downside, push back up, retesting that same area as resistance, and looks like we are holding it. So for me, it looks like GPJPY is on its way to the downside, and I do think GPJPY has a good probability of pushing it back down to this support all the way down there and just filling in the range of the market. As you can see for GPJPY last week, we're moving very corrective, very choppy price action, and we had this clear resistance that price was respecting, and this clear support price was respecting. So I think that's where price is on its way to that level. And if we were to get back above, I think the buys could be back on. But right now, it looks like we're going to get a push to the downside for GBJPY. Yeah, so I mean, as long as you know your error, then you can always correct it moving forward. Again, you're always going to make mistakes, but as long as you learn from them, then there's no real problem, because you're always getting better at your craft. And again, yeah, higher time frames for me help a lot, because then I know if I'm buying into a higher time frame with support resistance, then if I'm buying on the lower time frames or selling on the lower time frames, it might not quite work out, simply because the higher time frames are saying otherwise. So just by looking at all the majority of the time frames can give you a clearer trade or a clearer picture of the market, so you don't take positions that the probability is not entirely in your favor. So just by adding that to the game, adding that to your game can help a lot, and actually take away some of your trades that didn't really play out, and help you take more of the ones that do. So yeah, so for GJ, it looks like it could possibly be a move to the downside there if it does hold that resistance. And look at GPUSD as well, which moves similar to GPJPY. You can see we had that push to the downside yesterday, coming from that 1.4 level. Really strong area of resistance there, that 1.4. We failed to break through it, and now we're having that retracement to the downside back into this level here. And as you can see, this was the first target that I said yesterday. Previous support, previous resistance there, where we saw this rejection, now turn support. And as you can see, we're tapping back into that same area now. So again, not too sure if it's going to break through or not. If it does break through, that area, then I do think price will probably push to the downside to around 1.38, 1.38400, which is this level here in the market. If you break through that, so that's kind of the two targets that I said yesterday for GPUSD. But right now, I'm not too sure if that area is going to hold. We're not really seeing much of a bullish reaction from that on the 4H. Hourly, we're seeing slight bullish candles come back into the market from there, but nothing too major. So it looks like we might break through it, and if we do, I do think GPUSD can see a nice move back into 1.38 400. So looking at GPUSD for that. And also, yeah, currently in EURGP, looking for that move to the downside, back at that resistance there. Looks like we're holding. If price was to get back above it, and then I will actually exit the trade there completely. Not really keen adding positions on just for EURGP just for yet. But if we do, I do see a nice move back into that same area there for that pair. Now taking a look at EUR/AUD. So for EUR/AUD, I was actually favouring a move to the downside for this pair. However, as you can see, we had a really strong bullish reaction yesterday, which I was not expecting. As you can see, we actually took us back above this trend line. So price might want to have another retest at this same level, which it has already kind of had that retest. But it looks like price is looking quite bullish, so we might see a bit of retracement and another push back into that key level there for EUR/AUD on the 4 hourly. As you can see on the daily chart, it looks like we're really struggling to push to the downside here, slightly making those higher lows there in the market. So we might see a push to the upside, breaking through that area. But again, overall EUR/AUD is very, very messy so far on the 4H, as you can see. So again, not too clear with the analysis behind this pair. But right now, looks like we can see a bit of retracement. We've got this key area which price did not retest, so it might come back down, retest that area, then see another push back up, retesting that resistance just above it. But right now, not really too interested with EUR/AUD. Again, not too clear, so just going to stay away from that and not bother trading it. CAD/JPY, this pair had a really big push to the downside yesterday. Again, like I said, we did break through a key trend line yesterday. And I did say if price was to hold this trend line on the retest, and I was speaking on it when it was around here, and I said if it was to hold that trend line on that retest, we could see a nice dive to the downside for CAD JPY, and as you can see, we actually do get a very big push to the downside, as we did see a lot of CAD weakness yesterday, affecting a lot of the pairs in the Forex markets. And as you can see, we did see a big dive to the downside for CAD JPY, and it looks like price right now for CAD is very, very bullish and very, very bearish, sorry. So we might see price have another push to the downside, and it does look like we could be seeing a bit of a reversal for this pair. And like I said on my weekly analysis video, which I posted on Sunday, so if you haven't checked that out, make sure you go do that. I said that price did not retest this key level here on the weekly time frame. As you can see here, key weekly resistance was broken through, and now it's going to be turned support. So I do think we're going to get a retest of this level here for CAD JPY, which is around 84,500. So that's where I do expect to see price go to. But again, weekly time frame, so it might take a couple of weeks to go and get there. But if that's our long-term target, we know that price should be moving to the downside to go and retest that area. And therefore, when we see bullish movements to the upside, we just know to treat them as retracement in order to look for selling opportunities to take CAD JPY for another push to the downside. But right now, as you see, CAD is looking very, very bearish here after that strong bearish push to the downside. So expecting to see a bit of a push to the upside, maybe a bit of retracement. And nonetheless, I think CAD JPY is still on its way back down. Again, you can see price support here now turn resistance. So might see a reaction at that level there for CAD JPY. So might see a bit of retracement to go and retest that area. But nonetheless, it looks like CAD JPY is still on its way to the downside for that pair. So yeah, currently in Euro GBP short, looking for a move to the downside. Going to see how this trade gets on. If anyone else wants me to look at any different charts, any different markets, any different pairs, wants my analysis, or if you're in any trades as well, and you want to share your trades and see how they're doing, just post it on the live chat, and make sure I'll get back to you guys and give you some analysis on those pairs. But yeah, just going to see how my Euro GBP position gets on. Get back above that level, I'll look to close. And if you do see a push into this level down here, I'll look to close as well and just take the profit there, because I'm not too sure if the market will have the energy to go and break through that level after the big push we've seen to the downside here. And looks like we eventually could see a bigger retracement to the upside soon for Euro GBP. So not planning to hold this short on for too long, but just going to see if we can get another move to the downside for Euro GBP if we manage to hold that resistance there in the market. So I'm going to see how this trade gets on. We'll have my eye on some other markets there as well, see how they get on. And also, if you guys want me to look at any different charts, any different pairs, just put it in the live chat and I'll make sure I'll give you some analysis on those pairs. Okay, so we're going to take a quick look at GBP Chef. Okay, so for GBP Chef, like I said earlier, for this one, we're coming into key level here on 4H, which is probably why you're seeing some bearish reactions for GBP Chef at this moment in time. As you can see, if I zoom out, you can see we have all support going across here, which we've tapped into numerous times here. So again, 1, 2, 3. As you can see, eventually give us this move to the upside, and now we're back at that same level again, testing it as resistance. So that's probably why GPCHF is giving you that bearish movement, because we're at an area of quite strong resistance now. So if you were to break above that, then you'll probably see your trade kick off a lot further. Looking at the hourly time frame, as you can see, you're having that bearish candle there. So if you were to smash through this level, then you'll probably see your trade really take off, because then it will have broken through that resistance and the support will be behind it. So that could really help, but right now it is retesting that as resistance. So probably could push against you a little bit more, depending on how price action wants to react with this level, whether it wants to hold or break through. But right now GPCHF is kind of just flirting with that level really, and if it was to take out of it and hold it as support, then we probably could see price really take off to the upside, potentially seeing price coming back into this area here, which is kind of like where we had that last retracement before having this last big push to the downside, which I do feel price could tap into if it was to break through that level. However, right now kind of moving sideways, nothing too major there for GPCHF, and actually if it does hold it, we might see a push to the downside, which could actually mean the trade goes against you, but again, you win some and you lose some. But probably not the best place in my opinion to take a buy, because we do have that key level there, and if we were to break above it, could be a slightly better place and a bit more clearer path to your take profit. But right now we're kind of testing that resistance, so it's just up to price if it wants to hold or break through that level. Hey, you're right, and yeah, I'll take a look at AUDUSD for you. So AUDUSD, like I said yesterday, we came into a key level with 0.78 for AUDUSD here, and as you see, we tapped into that, and then we saw a nice rejection to the downside. We're coming back into this hourly support here, so we jump to the hourly chart. You can see 1, 2, 3. We're having a third test of this hourly support, and I feel like if price was to clear this resistance here just above that support, because this is what's kind of keeping price trapped underneath it. If you were to clear that, I think AUDUSD could see another push to the upside back into that 0.78 area and test it again for a second time. But right now, kind of getting some sideways movement there on the hourly chart at that same support. So again, not too sure if price is going to break through it or not. I did say before, if it was to break through, then we've got probably a clear path back down into 0.76500, which is this key support here on the daily. So I just jump to the daily quickly. You can see the daily has this really nice range between 0.76500 and 0.78. So key level going through the market as support was term resistance here. However, the market failed to hold it, broke above. So I feel like we could be coming back for a retest of that level, which is this level just here. So we could come back for a retest if you were to break through that support. But I feel like if you were to break through this resistance just above it, then we'll probably have a clear path to the upside there for AUDUSD. But right now we're just getting consolidation here. You can see the market's giving us wicks to either side, to the upside and to the downside. So a lot of indecision there. But if it does manage to hold that level, break through the resistance just above it, probably have a nice path to the upside, testing that resistance all the way up there. So yeah, I hope that analysis helped for AUDUSD. EURUSD for this one, looking bearish here. Like I said yesterday, we might see a retest of this level here in the market. As you can see, if I zoom out, take you across, we had this key level of resistance where we had a double top. So we tested it once, fell to the downside, tested it twice, and then we had our real move to the downside, so giving us that double top. We were back at that same level again recently, had a bit of consolidation, however failed to really reject from that level, and we actually broke it to the upside with this strong bullish candle. Did not retest it, and then we just continued to the upside, and now we're coming back down. So I feel like this could be our move back into that same area as support, and since we didn't retest, it's kind of like a fresh support, could come back, tap into it once, and then see the move to the upside, because like I did say, I do expect to see that 1.21 level reached for EURUSD. As you can see, really nice resistance there. gave us a really nice drop to the downside from that area, 1.21. I feel like price is on its way to go and retest that again, that resistance. We came quite close from it yesterday. As you can see, we wicked into around this area, and that 1.21 is just above, so around 20 pips away, and now we're seeing some retracement. So I feel like if we were to hold this level here, which is 1.19815, which is that resistance, that double top resistance, now 10 support, if we were to hold it, we could see another kick back to the upside and just continue this overall bullish trend that we're seeing for EURUSD to the upside for one more push, potentially to 1.21, and then we might see a bigger retracement after that, because we are still kind of due a bigger retracement now for EURUSD after the bullish reaction we've seen in the past few weeks for this pair. So I expect to see and maybe another push to the downside, tap into that level if it does hold, and then the push to the upside for EURUSD. So that is what I'm favouring for that pair at this moment in time. So yeah, I hope that analysis helped for that pair as well. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick look at gold. Okay, so for gold, like I did say earlier, that I was favouring a move to the downside for gold, coming back into a really key level on the daily time frame. So if I just jump to the daily, and I'll take this level across here, you can see this is previous support here on the daily. Big move to the upside, all the way up to 1950. Really key level of support. We tested it again a couple of times. Smaller bullish reaction, but still holding as strong support. Did collapse through that level, and now we're retesting that same level for the first time. So like I did say, we are coming back to that key level there on the daily, testing it as resistance now, and I do expect to see a push to the downside for gold coming back into that area. We already tested it once not too long ago. Now we're retesting it again for a second time. You can see on the hourly time frame, tested it once, nice strong reaction, held this support, retested it again, and now another strong reaction to the downside. So my bias is to the downside for gold as well, expecting to see it move at least into this area here. And you see when we did reject this level, we held that as support, numerous wicks into that level. So again, that's my first area where I expect price to go. If you were to break through that, then I do expect to see a push back into 1750. Key level of resistance, and as you can see, we did not get a retest of that level, so still fresh support we can come back and tap back into. Again, potentially you could go a lot further than that. Again, it's going to take a lot of momentum for us to break through this support there in the market, because again, that's kind of where we had that big push. This is where the market held, giving us that higher low before taking off to the upside again. So it would take a lot of energy for us to break through that support. And if you were to do that, I feel like price could go actually a lot further to the downside for gold, potentially even back to those lows there. But for now, expecting to see a push to the downside as long as we hold into that resistance. Just up there where we've tapped in twice now, push the downside back into that support, break through that support, then a push back into this support down there. So kind of two areas where I'm expecting price to go to. Might see another retest of that potentially, but as long as price does not get above that resistance, I think gold is on its way down in some retracement. And you can also see for the price action as well that we had recently, price had a nice push to the upside, retrace, big push to the upside, little retrace as well. So the market is slightly overextended as well there. So we are expecting to see a bit of exhaustion for gold now, a bit of to relieve itself. If it does hold into that resistance, I think it would probably just do that and see a nice push to the downside, tap into that area, and then might see a bigger push to the upside after that if you do hold this area. Yeah, I don't currently trade crypto at this moment in time, but yeah, I do look at it. I do keep up to date with my analysis on some cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin, yeah, potentially could see a bigger push to the upside for that one. Okay, so yeah, this is currently Bitcoin here on the 4 hourly. Let me just go to the daily. So yeah, I mean, here I'm up to date with my analysis for Bitcoin, seeing how it's moving over the past couple of months or so, and looks like price is right now having its another exhaustion, another retrace. As you can see, the nature of the market, how it's moving, nice push to the upside, retracement, another push up, retracement, push up. Looks like this is a retracement there as well. But however, the difference is with this one is that we're very, very impulsive. As you see, this is impulsive retracement, but this is much more. We're also taking out this trend line there as well in the market. So Bitcoin might actually see a deeper retracement. Looking at that there on the daily, we could potentially come back into that previous area which we did reject from kind of this support here. So I might come back and retest that area there on the 4 hourly. You can see right now for Bitcoin price is kind of just moving sideways, not really doing anything. We might have a break to the downside, retest that area, or push back up. I think 60k is around this area here, previous support resistance there in the market. So you can see it acting as resistance a few times there on the 4H and support. So yeah, might see a push back up, could see a pullback there. But I feel like if we were to break to the downside here, we might already see that push back into that key support there on the 4 hourly time frame, which is this support here. If you were to break to the upside, that is probably a clear area where price probably wants to go and test, which is around 60k there, that previous support and time resistance. So if you were to break to the upside, that's probably where price is likely to go and test. And if it does test that hold, yeah, we might see that another push back to the downside. But I think it's all about the nature how Bitcoin moves. If it's impulsive to the upside, then it might mean that we might see another continuation. But if it does move slowly, correctly to test that area, then we could probably expect to see another leg to the downside. And at that point, probably expect to see this level getting tested after that. But right now for Bitcoin, bit of sideways action. Again, not too clear right now. Going to see how it breaks out and which way it goes to. But yeah, could be looking for sales around this area here, but potentially might push the downside first before it moves to that 60k area. But yeah, it did go and break through that bigger trend line there on the far early of the daily. So could see a bigger push to the downside for this pair. And again, very impulsive retracement there. And also break through this trend line here as well, which kind of did a few times, but now it's really below that same trend line there as well. Yeah, so yeah, I did just have a look at the news. Looks like we have news just about now for, I believe, we have some news for GBP. So yeah, doesn't like too much has happened in the market. So look at GPUSD here, GPJPY, Euro GBP. Yeah, not too much is happening here at 11:30 so far. I might see a bit more coming later on, but right now, nothing too much going on in the markets right now. Kind of just the same as before. GPCHF, as I pull it back up into that same resistance. Yeah, but overall nothing too major for the news we're seeing just now. So yeah, like basically that, as I said before, technicals still looking the same way. Currently the same thing for GPUSD, currently at that same area, seeing how it reacts. So far it is holding on to it, so might see another reaction to the upside for GPUSD if you were to have a bounce from that area. And yeah, my current EURGP trade is still looking alright, holding on to that resistance, looking like we could be seeing some continuation to the downside for EURGP back into that key level all the way down there. So we're going to see how that trade turns out. But yeah, nothing too major after that news announcement. Okay, so it's just gone 12 p.m. so I can do a little wrap up of the live stream and do a quick rundown some of the pairs that we looked at earlier and see how they've got on since I last spoke at 10 a.m. So let's start with AUDUSD. So you can see with this one, again, having a little bit of a bullish reaction at that level. Like I said, it was a strong hourly level. If we do maintain that level, I do expect to see a bigger push to the upside. Potentially back to 0.78 if we do hold it. Again, we do have that resistance just above us there, which I'd highlight earlier. So if we do clear that level, I feel like we have a good opportunity of price pushing to the upside back to that 0.78 level and could see a bigger push to the upside for AUDUSD. EURUSD, again, I said we could potentially see another push to the downside, testing back at that 1.19910 level. Again, it was that double top level that we had not too long ago. So taking it across, you can see we had a nice double top. First test, second test, fell to the downside. Now we retested it not too long ago, had that big engulfing candle breaking through that level, and I think this could be the retest of it, looking for the continuation back to the upside. So you can see here we're looking quite bearish, falling to that level. Not too much has happened in the past couple of hours or so, but I think we could roll over to the downside, retest that level, and then maybe have a kick in the other direction. But not quite testing yet, so maybe later today we might afford to go and retest that level, and if you do look like we're holding, could see another push to the upside and see another push back to around 1.21 potentially. GPUSD, again, still hanging on to that previous resistance and support. Again, like I said, if it was to break through, it will potentially go and test this 1.38 400 level. Really key level on the daily chart, holding as support and resistance. And if we were to see that hold, we can see a bigger push to the upside, and potentially even further if we were to break 1.4, because at that point potentially could be having a bit of a reversal and a continuation of the overall bullish trend that we saw for the past couple of months for GPUSD. But right now we're just resting on that level there, and might see a kick to the upside, but we haven't really seen too much strength there from GPUSD, so we might roll over, and if we were to do that, it'll probably come back and test this level down there. USD CAD, like I said earlier, for this one, we're back at the key level here on the daily chart. So if I was to highlight this area, 1.26 200. Again, really key level of support and resistance here in the market. We tap back into that once, second time, third time, and now again for a fourth time. And if you do hold that, we could see price roll back over. And since USD CAD is a bit of an extended, might see a bit of retracement. But like I did say on the daily chart wasn't looking too good. It looks like price is holding on to this support here in the market. So you can see a previous support here, big push to the upside. Now retesting that same support, and potentially could actually give us a break of that resistance, which is just above us. So that's why I'm not too keen on swing back to the downside for USD CAD. Might see a bit of retrace to the downside, but again, I'm not too sure how far it will go, because I think potentially might see a break of that to the upside and could see USD CAD really take off. But again, we are holding it so far, so might see a bit of retrace to the downside as we look to retrace some of that bullish momentum that we saw yesterday. UCJPY, again for this one, we came back to retest at a key level there on the 4 hourly. Previous support, nice push to the upside, a lot of bullish momentum. We were back below it yesterday. I said if we hold, we do expect to see another push to the downside. As you can see, we did see a slight push. We're holding onto this area here where we're seeing all those wick rejections there. But if you do manage to take out that level, I think from a daily point of view, we could go a lot further, because it looks like we're holding onto that as resistance. And as you can see here, we had a slight retracement here on the daily with that bearish candle in this area. So a slight retracement and then a continuation there for a lot of bullish momentum. So I do expect to see price come back and tap into that level if we do hold that as resistance, which so far we are doing. So that's why I do expect for UCJPY to roll over to the downside and maintain this kind of bullish trend that we're seeing there on the 4 hourly time frame. And very similar with USDCHF as well. As you can see, similar bearish trend that we're getting there on the 4 hourly time frame. And we recently did just break through a key level here on the daily. So as you can see, key daily support broke through that level a few days ago last week, and as you can see, we're trading below that level. So we're getting a slight reaction from that level, because again, we're coming back into this area here. So as you can see, we're getting a slight reaction there on the daily, but nonetheless, as long as we hang below that level there, so we might come back up, retest that area as resistance, and then push to the downside for USDCHF. and at that point I do expect to see 0.9 reached for this pair, because you can see on the daily we had this really strong push to the downside, held this level when we were consolidating above it, broke below it, broke back above. So I think we'll come back and retest that as support right now. So bias is the downside for USDCHF, but we might see one more push to the upside first to come retest that level here before coming back down. So you need to be aware of that. Yeah, I'll take a look at Euro JPY as well for you. Yeah, Euro JPY, like I said earlier, for this one we do have a key level of support resistance. That price has been stuck trading between. Recently we had a false break to the upside, so price was looking very bullish at one point yesterday, breaking and closing above that area, and then we collapsed and closed straight back below on the next candle. So that was a big indication for us that that was just a false move in the market, similar to what we had here. Very strong close below, then the next candle closed straight back above. So at that point there was a high probability that the market was going to continue that bearish momentum to the downside and just fill the range between those levels of resistance and support. And now it looks like price wants to try and make another attempt at breaking through this level of support. You can see the current candle has had a wick just below. It is pulling back up, but we still got about just under 2 hours left before that 4-hourly candle closes. So it'll be interesting to see how it closes. But really you want to see a price candle close below and the next candle come and retest it and fail to close back above and show signs that we are rejecting that area as resistance. And then at that point we probably can be saying we have a higher probability chance of seeing a move to the downside now and an actual breakout, rather than just another false move that we've had here and here. So important to wait for the candle closes, but right now it's looking like price wants to have another attempt at breaking through that support, but we'll judge at the candle closure to see if it was successful or not. And right now it does look like price is pulling back, so it'll be interesting to see how that candle does end up closing. And my current trade, Euro GBP, looking for a move to the downside. You can see we did get a nice rejection from that same resistance at 10 a.m. when that candle closed GMT. Right now the current candle is slightly bullish, but again not too much going on there. So again, like I said before, expecting to see a move to the downside for Euro GBP, taking out that last low there, pushing back into this level here around 0.85500. And if we were to get back above this level here, I'll just exit the trade completely. I've already taken most of my profits, so there's no point of me just waiting and watching the trade go against me there. So if it was to break above that level, I'll just exit completely, but looking to see if we can catch one more move to the downside for Euro GBP before maybe a bigger move to the upside. So yeah, that's currently the trade I'm in. You're going to see how that gets on. Remember, I live stream every Tuesday and Wednesday, so next week I will be live again Tuesday 10 a.m. so make sure you don't miss that. But again, thank you guys for joining me, and I appreciate that. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and also leave a like on the video if you guys are feeling generous. But thanks again for watching, and until the next one, I will see you guys later.